Hey guitar nerds, do you know what has the biggest impact on your guitar tone? It's not the amp, it's not the guitar, and it's not the pedals you use. It is the speakers. They have a massive impact on your overall guitar tone. Have you ever tried swapping out speakers in a 4x12 cab? Yeah, it's a nightmare. And that's just one of the reasons why I love the brand new SpeakerMix Pro and dynamic speaker response format from Celestion, because it takes away all those hassles. Now, Celestion were kind enough to send me a copy of the SpeakerMix Pro software and some DSR files to go with it. And if you want to get your hands on your own copy of the software and the DSR files, please consider using the affiliated link right down in the description. Thanks. Now roll the demo tape. Hey guitar nerds, thank you so much for tuning into my channel. In this video we are checking out the SpeakerMix Pro and the dynamic speaker response format from Celestion speakers. You heard this software and the DSR format on all the guitars in the song in the beginning of the video. Now, before we go any further, if you like these kind of videos, please consider hitting the subscribe button and pressing the notification bell so that you are notified whenever I upload new videos. So let's jump into the computer and we will check out what this software and these DSR files are all about. Hang on. So we have jumped inside the computer. I am using Cubase 12. This will of course run in any DAW, so that's not really an issue. And here we have an instance of SpeakerMix Pro. Now I'm going to run you through the controls here and show you what this is all about. First of all, we have this input section, and that controls how much signal is hitting the dynamic speaker response. And that makes a difference because just like a real speaker, it's very dependent on how much signal you pump into the speaker itself. So let's try and work the input control here and see if we can hear any difference. Alright, well, the obvious difference is that it's getting louder and quieter, but I think there is something about the dynamics of the speaker. It sounds almost like the speaker itself is distorting just a little bit. I think that's pretty cool. Right, next on the input channel here we have a delay function. I am going to get back to that because I'm going to show you a pretty cool trick you can do with this if you are recording rhythm guitars and panning them hard left and right. There is a trick you can use. Right, next up is this C curve, and that is basically the impedance between the virtual amp and the cabinet and speaker. So if you check the manual, it says that low gain sounds are best somewhere down here in the lower settings, and high gain sounds have the most benefit if you turn up this C curve control. But let me just turn the control while the guitar is playing, and you can hear the difference. We will start at 0 or off. Alright, as you can probably tell, it is a significant difference. It makes a significant difference to the sound where this knob is positioned, and it's a very, very powerful tool. I think it goes from sounding kind of flat in the off position to really opening up, and I really like that. Right, next are the 6 channels where you load your DSR files or your impulse responses, because this software can handle old-fashioned impulse responses as well. So if you have bought even third-party impulse responses, or you made your own impulse responses, you can load them into the software and couple them up with DSR files and all kinds of cool things. But let me run you through one of the channels. The 6 channels are of course identical, so I'm just gonna show you one. Start at the bottom, we have a solo and mute. Then we have this small sign down here that gives you an indication of which kind of speaker and cabinet and microphone you're using. We have a fader, we have a pan knob, and we have this room control that will send a signal over to this room channel. Let me just turn that up and let's hear what it sounds like. I'm just gonna choose this microphone. As you can see, you have 4 different stock microphones with the software, and then you can load your own. If you have room mic impulse responses of your own, you can load them into the software as well. Right, let's try and add some room to the sound. Now this is not a reverb, it's more like a room sensation of standing in the same room as the cabinet and speakers. So check this out. Just gonna check out the other room mics. So as you can probably tell, it is, well, basically like standing in the room with the cabinet and amp and speakers themselves. It's a pretty cool feature. Alright, gonna turn this room control down to 0 again and get to the EQ section, which is this little part of the mixer or the channel. Click on it once and it opens this EQ window, and as you can see you have 10 bands to play with. Let's just try and activate one by clicking on it like this. You can move it around and you can change the Q value here. Of course it goes up and down. Then you have high pass and low pass filters you can add in, and you have this tilt function which you can turn on by double clicking, and then you can tilt it like this. Right, pretty cool. It is a very powerful EQ, and it gives you the ability to really tailor the sound and make it fit into a mix or whatever it is you are doing with this piece of software. It is extremely powerful. You turn it on by clicking on this little icon. You can see it turns white when it is on and black when it is off. Alright, the remaining 5 channels are all identical to the first one, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Right, moving to the top of the window here, you can see there is a huge speaker, and if you click on it, you gain access to the selection of DSR files or impulse responses that you own. Now, when you buy this piece of software, Celestion is giving you a selection of, I believe it is 10 different speakers and some cabinets and some microphones. The microphones are kind of like attached to the cabinet, so as of now you cannot buy separate mics. So speakers and cabinets you can choose from. Right, you can slide here. Let's see. Right now we have loaded a G12M greenback into a 4x12 and mic'd it with a Royer 1-to-1 microphone. And this is the sound. Right, let's try loading another speaker. Let's just do this one. Or this one. Or the classic Vintage 30. As you can tell, and this is one of the coolest thing I think about both impulse responses and this new DSR format. The choice of speaker makes a huge difference to the sound. I mean, you can switch out the amp and you can switch out pedals and you can switch out guitars, all kinds of stuff, but when it all comes down to what it comes down to, it is the speaker that makes the most difference in the sound, by far. And when you have access to a library like this, then there are unlimited possibilities to load just the kind of sound you want. Right, I'm going to go back to the greenback and the 4x12. Let's try to switch to a 2x12. Or a open 2x12. Or a 1x12 closed. Or the open. And back to the 4x12. Once again, a huge difference in sound as to which cabinet you have picked. It is pretty damn cool. Right, finally let's try the different mics. Once again, quite a big difference in the mic you choose. Right, and the cool thing is that you can just hop around between the speakers and the cabs and the mics on this page and make up your mind what kind of sound you want. I am going to go with the greenback once again, the 4x12 and the Royer, and I'm going to close this window and I'm back here. And this is the sound. But that is not all. In this little window you have here, you can choose where to position the mic. And right now it is in this position here. It's called balanced. If I move my mouse wheel, it is going to jump between these different presets: thin, bright, balanced, fat, dark, and dark 2. And let's hear what it sounds like when I move the mic with my mouse wheel. Alright, once again, a significant difference in sound according to where you put the mic. But Celestion has not limited you to these 6 presets. You can actually, if you press and hold your mouse button, move this little slider anywhere in between these fixed points, so you can basically put the mic anywhere you want. Let's try and slide it all the way from one side to the other. Yeah, pretty cool. Alright, now as I said, these channels are identical. So what you can do is pick the next channel, load whatever kind of speaker and cabinet and mic you want, and then you can blend it in with the sound you had from the first channel. Let's try and do that. I have had this channel muted so far. This channel, channel 2, is a greenback in a 4x12, but this one is mic'd with a Shure SM57. So let's open this and hear what it sounds like. I'm gonna turn it all the way down and try blending it in. Alright, pretty cool. So it's just like having 6 cabinets with 6 different speakers and 6 different microphones, and you can blend them any way you like. Alright, before we move on to the output section here, I'm just going to show you that little trick I was talking about in the beginning with the delay knob here. And as I said, it refers to double tracking, or rather not double tracking guitars. So check this out. Just gonna mute that and go to my rhythm guitars right here. I have recorded some rhythm guitars, and it sounds like this. Oh, sorry, just gonna mute this one. Alright, rhythm guitars. Right, I think it sounds pretty good. I know that this is actually cheating, because if you want to do this for real, you would of course track one guitar and then double track it again and then hard pan them left and right, because that is the right way to do it. However, with this software I can get around that and kind of like cheat a little. So this is only recorded once, then I have just copied it to the second track, and then I did this. Let me just open SpeakerMix Pro on the first channel, which is this one, and then the second channel, which is this one. And as you can see, the delay has been turned on this one, which is called Guitar 2, and it is delaying the signal with 15 milliseconds. Now check out what happens when I turn off the delay. First you're going to hear it with the delay, and then I'm going to turn it off. Now, as you can probably tell, it makes a significant difference in the stereo image of how this sounds. When the delay is turned off, they kind of like clash with each other, because they are actual copies of each other. So there is no variation whatsoever between the guitars, and that's not the right way to do it. So if you are in a hurry and you need to do something and you only have time to record the guitars once, you can copy in, you can just delay one of them, and you will get the sensation of having 2 separately recorded guitars. I know it's cheating, please don't punch me in the face or anything, but it's a trick and it works. Okay, I'm back on the lead guitar again. Let's check out the master section of the SpeakerMix Pro software. It all starts out with master faders, of course, and you can link and unlink them. I actually forgot to say that you can link and unlink these channels in pairs, so you can link 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. So you can have stereo pairs. Makes sense to link the output channel though. Next you have a master EQ, and that is just like the EQs on the separate channels. You open it like this, and as you can see, I've actually used this EQ to make this sound of this lead guitar. I thought it needed a little bump down here at the bottom end, and then there was a frequency here that I wasn't quite happy with, so I pulled that out. Next up is this width control, but since all of my tracks are in mono, it doesn't have any effect. So I'm not going to turn it, but if you had a stereo recording, you could make it narrow or very wide by turning the width control. Next is a mono control, and once again my tracks are in mono, so even if I do this, it has no effect because it is already in mono. Down here we have something called auto level, and if you hover your mouse over it, it says moves, faders and send knobs around a comfortable central position without affecting the balance. So let's check out what happens if I press auto level. Watch the faders over here. Yeah, as you can see, it turned these faders down so that you have more room to work with, and to compensate for the lower volume, it cranked up the master faders like this. So it is basically exactly the same sound, but it has just given you a little more room to work with over here on these faders. Just gonna move these back to something like that, which was where they came from. Right, next is the auto gain button, and once again, if you mouse over, it says sets the output volume to match input and output level, and then stops. So this is kind of like it does one thing and then it stops working, so to speak. So you can check this out. Watch the faders once again. So you can see ever so slightly these faders moved when the track started playing. I can do it again. But it is basically matching the level of what is coming into the plugin and what is coming out of the plugin. Cool. And finally down here we have a save preset. You can push that and you can save this preset if you want to load it for later use. Now, one thing we haven't discussed in this video is what sets the dynamic speaker responses aside from a normal impulse response. And the short answer is the way it reacts to your playing and volume and all these kinds of dynamics, which is kind of implied in the name, that is coming into the speaker response, the dynamic speaker response. And I'm not sure how this is done. I am not an engineer. I don't know these things, but I can tell you that the response of these are, in lack of a better word, better than the classic impulse responses. I don't know. I do feel a difference when I'm playing it. It is like standing right next to a real guitar cab with an amp and just pounding away and feeling all those nuances that's coming out if you play soft and you play hard. And I don't know, Celestion pulled this one off. It is absolutely amazing. Cool stuff. Alright, thank you so much for watching my demo on the Celestion SpeakerMix Pro and the dynamic speaker response format. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please hit subscribe and the notification bell, and I will be back soon with more gear demos. Until then, stay cool.